Revelation 1593. From the 1st and 2nd of September 1940. Subordination of the will. Grace. Spiritual and earthly knowledge. The inwardly matured human being will completely integrate himself into divine will, for his feelings can only approve of that which corresponds to God's will. He will make contact with the divine spirit in every situation of life. Thus, if he is willing to do what is right, he will be instructed by this divine spirit and also now give in to the urge of the heart which expresses the voice of the divine spirit. This is not a compulsory way of acting, but his will already strives for the good, thus the will subordinates itself to God's will. It is the will to act right before God, unconscious utilization of divine grace, for the working of the Spirit in the human being is grace which God imparts to those who desire it. The will to do good is also the will to God, and God himself comes to meet the willing person and gives him the strength to accomplish what his will strives for. If the human being consciously makes contact with God through prayer, grace will flow to him in abundance, for now the human being has found unity with God. He recognizes God and now seeks to serve him, whereas before he certainly aspired to the noble but still thought he was alone because he did not recognize the eternal deity. Everything that is good and noble already belongs to God in its essence, even though it does not have full awareness of it. It stands in love and is thus close to God, and the power from God must communicate itself to it because it stands in the circuit of divine love. But he must also inevitably come to recognize the deity if he is active in love, for love loosens the covers and releases the spirit, which then instructs him and gives him knowledge of all things in and around him. And now the human being becomes knowledgeable, and that is spiritual progress. He enters into conscious contact with the spiritual in the beyond and is instructed and thus brought ever closer to the eternal deity, which is the goal and purpose of earthly life. Therefore, the right knowledge is not due to intellectual work, but to the nature of the heart. If a person is good and noble, he will also be rich in knowledge. Of such knowledge which is of value for eternity. For earthly wisdom loses all value with the death of the person who has such wisdom. Earthly knowledge is irrelevant, indeed. It can even prevent a person from accepting spiritual knowledge, because spiritual knowledge usually does not correspond to earthly knowledge, and this is not the case if the person with earthly knowledge is incapable of loving action. Thus if love has not yet come alive in him and his spiritual state is still very lightless, then all the wisdom he believes he possesses is only profitable for earthly life, not for life after bodily death. Amen.